Yeah, hey Kevin, can you kind of take us through the timeline this week in terms of Myles and his return for Sunday? What check marks he needs to hit?
Yeah, he was out there yesterday. Looked good to me. We're going to make sure that we're smart about how we get him back out there. So, but checking in with him yesterday, he looked really good, and then see how he looks today, and just keep an open dialogue with him.
At this point, is the expectation that he will play Sunday, barring any kind of setbacks?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Jake. Fred Greetham, you're up next.
Hey, Coach, any clarification on the three guys still on the list? And Tedrick Thompson, do you expect him to be available this weekend?
Yeah, the three guys on the COVID list, I don't have a final answer for you. I don't believe any of them will be practicing today. And then Tedrick Thompson remains to be seen in terms of his availability.
Thank you, Fred. Jeff Shadell, you have our next question.
I was going to ask you about those COVID guys too, but Kevin, with practicing inside, I know you'd like to be outside. Is it hard to get all the work done on which obviously you have a smaller field to work on?
I don't think it's harder to get the work done, Jeff. I think it probably impacts special teams the most, because those are full field drills typically when you're talking about kickoff and kickoff return. But we adjust and say, all right, hey, the 50-yard line here, pretend it's the 30 or something like that. So we got our work done. I think we'll be able to get outside potentially tomorrow. Our guys do a great job. They're got the fields tarps, but they're knocking the snow off the fields now, and that'd be great to get out there. But in the meantime, if that's not available to us, we get our work done inside.
Thank you, Jeff. Scott Petrick, will go to you.
Hey, Kevin, what have you seen from those Titans receivers, and do they make it tough? Yeah, I would think you'd want to devote as many guys as possible to Derrick Henry, but they kind of make it tough to do that.
Yeah, they're a balanced attack. They can hurt you multiple ways. I think that's a credit to their players, a credit to their scheme. They have multiple receivers that can catch and make you miss or get out in space. So we got to stay tight in coverage. It's not a one-man show. We know how great Derrick Henry is, obviously, but they are a very balanced offense. So we have to make sure that we're about our business in our run fits and in our pass defense.
And kind of following up on that, how impressive were those kind of different plays that A.J. Brown was able to make? The one where he knocked a bunch of guys over and then he runs away from guys the week after.
He's extremely impressive. He's big, he's fast, he's strong, has great hands, runs a great route tree. Very, very tough player.
Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Tony Grossi, you're up.
First, Kevin, I wanted to know if your kids approved of our snowstorm the other day.
They approve of any snow day they can get.
Okay. How does it measure up to Minnesota?
Definitely not as cold.
Okay.
Once it snows in October, it's there till about April in Minnesota.
Vrabel being, having played under Belichick, knows the importance of special teams. Obviously, they've lost 2 games with special teams breakdowns. And I just wondered your overall assessment of the impact you've gotten this season from your special teams. Has it been what you expected, less or more?
Yeah, I would say we're playing much better lately. I really think Coach Prefer and Coach Coleman do an outstanding job with that group. And I think guys have really stepped up in the second half of our season so far, I would say. So they got to continue to do so. We're getting contributions from a bunch of different players, but they understand how important it is. It's a 3-pronged attack: offense, defense, special teams. And we need our special teams to come through for us this week and for really every game.
And we talked to Prefer about, the rule changes have kind of lessened the impact of returns and kickoffs and all that. Do you think this season, and because of the rule changes, are special teams having the same impact as previous years?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'd have to study that, Tony. I mean, it is true that there's more touchbacks in the last few years than there had been previously out of player safety respect. But I don't know in total if that's true. I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Daryl Ryder has our next question.
Hey, Kevin, I wanted to ask you about Ryan Tannehill and what's changed about his game since he's been with the Titans. It seems he got to Tennessee and has kind of done a 180 in his career.
Yeah, I think you give credit to the player first and foremost. I think it appears to me he works very hard at his craft. He's very technically sound. And then I think just the scheme in which he's being utilized and the players that he has at his disposal, I think he's playing at a very high level. He's extremely accurate, can hurt you in a bunch of different ways. We talked about his athleticism yesterday, so somebody that I have a lot of respect for.
Thanks, Daryl. Mary Kay Cabot has our next question.
Yeah, Coach, when you have Myles Garrett out on the field on Sunday and Andy as well, will you guys have your medical personnel having to kind of monitor them, keep an eye on them? Will they be on somewhat of a pitch count, or how might that go?
Yeah, I think we're doing that right now, Mary Kay, in terms of they're out there on the practice field for the first time in a while, seeing how they're responding. We'll do the same today, see how they come through these few days of practice, but very positive after yesterday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Kay. Nate Ulrich, you're up next.
I was actually going to ask how Andy Janovich came through yesterday and was looking, and you're encouraged by him as well?
Yeah, Andy looked great. He's excited to get out here. He's been, if you know Andy, he's been excited to put the pads back on, and he's ready to go help us in any way he can.
Shifting gears for a second, Kevin Johnson playing in a larger capacity for you guys with Denzel out. How do you think he fared the other day this past weekend, and what do you look forward to seeing from him in this matchup coming up?
Yeah, I thought he was competitive in a bunch of moments. He's always going to fight and give you everything he has, and he made a few plays. He's the type of player where he's got versatility, where you can play him inside and outside. Studies like crazy, understands the game plan, so somebody that we're counting on.
Thank you, Nate. Tom Withers, you're up.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Coach. I know that the reverence, if that's the right word, you have for Jarvis and the way he carries himself on and off the field. And I know you don't necessarily value him in terms of production with what he does in terms of stats. But what does it mean, Kevin, to have him have kind of that breakout game that we've all been expecting him to have now that he's healthy and doing his thing?
Yeah, I think it's important for Jarvis to have a game like that, and we expect that from him. I mean, we know what he's capable of. Now that he's healthier, I should say, he's continuing to get better and better, and he will find a way to affect the game. He has the uncanny ability to make tough catches, and they typically result in first downs, and that's a very big deal for what we're looking for.
And just in terms of he and Baker, kind of reestablishing that good connection that they've had in the past, what does that mean for the offense just in general?
Yeah, those guys have a ton of banked reps together, so I have a lot of confidence in their rapport and what they're able to do. And again, it's something that we're counting on Jarvis in those big moments, and great to see the other day. And now we're hoping that that's something that we see really every game going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Back to Daryl Ryder.
Hey, Coach, we've had to talk a lot this year about COVID and the impact that it's had on schedules and the game and whatnot. I wanted to ask you about the impact that the virus might have on future evaluation of players. Guys that got the virus. Do you anticipate that it'll be treated like you're looking at an evaluation of a guy who tore an ACL or a tendon or something like that? Going forward, how much of a concern from a evaluation / medical standpoint will this virus have evaluating guys going forward?
Daryl, I really don't know the answer to that. I would tell you I don't see it affecting our evaluations of our players, but the medical staff could probably answer that better in terms of, is there a longer effect that maybe I'm not totally aware of, but I don't see that right now.
Thank you, Daryl. Mary Kay Cabot, you're up.
Just in terms of the way that you guys have used Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt this season, a lot of us were curious about, would you have them on the field together a ton? But you haven't really done that all that much. Is the method to that madness keeping them super fresh so that you guys can hit them with that 1-2 punch in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, a little bit. I think both of them have versatility, Mary Kay, so they can do different jobs. We can have them on the same field, on the field at the same time. We did that last week for at least one play that I can think of. So we're looking to grow that package at times. But like you said, it's also nice to have one in, one out, and a fresh guy coming in when that guy goes out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. We have time for three more. Nate Ulrich, Tony Grossi, Jane Slater. Nate, go ahead.
Hey, Kevin, when we were talking to Mike Prefer earlier, he was talking about the big picture view of this team, having been here last year. And he said, people are talking playoffs and all this stuff, Super Bowl, and you can't do that no matter how talented you are. And, I was thinking about how Jimmy Haslam in August said that, we kind of learned a lesson as an organization about managing expectations better. I know you weren't here last year, but came in this year. How much of a focus was that for you to change the culture in that way and to make sure guys, adopted the mindset and the focus week to week, like you always talk about?
Yeah, Nate, I don't think I came in here or any of our coaches came in here to change a culture. We just established our own, and we just kind of explained what we're about and what we believe in. And I think, to the players' credit, I think we have a bunch of guys that believe in the same things and want to help the team any which way they can.
So, you couldn't get guys on the field until August. You could talk to guys. So was that, part of, your off season, establishing your culture that you always talk about? How much time was spent on that? What were those kind of conversations all about?
Yeah, I think that's important for any new staff that comes in to establish what they're all about. But culture, that buzzword gets thrown out around a lot, and I just think it's people. And I'd give Andrew Berry a ton of credit for the people he brought in here, via trade, free agency, the draft. I think if you bring in the right people, all of a sudden you got the right culture.
Thanks, Nate. Tony Grossi.
Hey, Kevin, on Monday, Kaderil Hodge had his first Zoom call of the year, and out of it came a headline quote saying the Titans, I don't think they're Super Bowl, a super team or something like that. I'm not sure how the legs of that quote, but knowing Vrabel, it's probably in their locker room. So I wondered, was it enough for you to speak to him about it? And in general, where do you come out on locker room quotes?
Yeah, I'll always keep any interactions I have with the players internal, Tony. But I'll just tell you, I support our players. I'm not the thought police. I'm not going to tell them what to think, but I do make sure that they understand what's important is how we work. And we're not about bluster. We're about just making sure we put our work in.
Are you the kind of coach that grabs quotes to inspire your team?
Always. You're always looking for anything you can get your hands on.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Our final question goes to Jane Slater.
Hey, Coach, I apologize if either one of these got answered of you. I'm struggling with the internet today, but following up on Nate's question, I cover the Cowboys and obviously first-year coaching staff down here, and it's not easy to replicate what you guys are doing there in Cleveland. Following up on, you were talking about establishing your culture and the buy-in. How did you do that? Was that phone calls to certain guys? Is that checking in with them once a week? I imagine it's a bit of a challenge when position groups can't do those team dinners. How are you getting this culture to buy in and with this first year coaching staff get what you're trying to implement?
Well, Jane, I just tell you it's a process and it's not one thing. And it's not something that you do in April and you put a check mark next to it and said, all right, we established our culture. So I just think it's a constant thing about making sure that our players understand what we're all about. I think I'm really, really lucky in having a bunch of great coaches that are teachers, that push our guys, that coach them hard. And I think all of that leads to playing solid football, and hopefully that leads to winning.
One more quick follow-up for you. When you obviously weren't here last year, but when you pop in Derrick Henry's tape and you look at what he's been able to accomplish this year, I think we're all looking forward to a good run game. But where have you seen his game develop? And is there anything that you saw from last year in the way they were able to limit him that you can apply to this game?
I don't know about last year applying to this year, James, but I'll tell you, he's a supremely talented running back. He can hurt you in a bunch of different ways, and I think they just do a nice job in total as an offense. All 11 guys have a hand in making that run game go.